Hey, welcome back for another episode. Today's topic is the promissory note, but in this case, it's for Ethan's phone. He's been waiting for it for quite some time. The first time through, he was given a phone and he lost it. And it has been a year since he's had a phone. And so part of the deal was if he did a great job with his braces, which he just had those put on earlier in January, that we would look into the phone option. Now, to give you a recap of some of the things he actually had to do, he wanted to request a phone, but he wanted the newest and best thing out there. And we're just like, nah, that's not going to work. So through one of the businesses, I identified one of the phones that we weren't using anymore and decided to procure that for Ethan. Now, with that, he had to do a few tasks to figure out if everything was going to match up and work out. The first thing is that he essentially got the phone that we decided he was going to get, which was an iPhone 5S. The iPhone 5S retails for about $130. It's an older phone, but it still works, has a lot of bells and whistles. So we decided we were going to use that in the place for the phone. And then there were a number of accessories and all the costs. Everything came together to, I think it was about $149. So for that $149, Ethan was not allowed to use his savings account. He had to use his cash flow, which is represented by his allowance. So when using his allowance, he looked into, or he had a cash flow of about $30 a month. So we did a little execution, or we did a little review of the various options. He was given 3 financing options because he actually went to the family bank, which was gracious enough to give him a loan. And within that, they gave him 3 options. And in those 3 options, the first option was he had the ability to get a loan for the phone, but he had to pay it off in 6 months. So that meant once he actually did the math, the cost came down to about $25 a month. Now, if he's making $30 a month and the phone's going to cost $25 a month, that means he's going to be down to $5 over the course of 6 months, which he was not too happy about. So in addition to that, that option did not come with insurance as well, which he was definitely interested in an insurance option. So for option two, there was the choice of an insurance plan. Well, actually, that was included in order to get the financing. So a 12-month insurance plan to protect the phone against accidents, but not theft or loss, because we wanted to make sure he had that responsibility. So that option ended up being, I think it was $26 with the insurance, and with the phone and everything came to about $15 a month since he had 12 months to pay. So he was much happier about that option. Again, 12 months is a little bit longer, but it's still, he was making $15 a month in cash flow. And then the third option was a 2-year plan for the insurance, but he had a little bit longer to pay, 18 months. And so everything considered for that came to about $11.60. So we actually chose option 3. So it was actually very important because he wanted to make sure his cash flow did not completely disappear, and he had a lesson on budgeting, which was very, very crucial and important. So at this point, we had to do our closing for the loan. Now, I like to do things official to make that process as clean as possible. And Ethan essentially goes through it and recognizes, I know what that process for getting a loan is like. It can be a little tedious, it can be a little long, but I know each piece that's going to be required. So what I actually have in here is his promissory note. So if you didn't see the first promissory note that he got back in 2017, highly encourage you to take a look at that, because again, I have no holds barred, and the interest was definitely an interesting piece. But for this particular loan, the promissory note has collateral. In this case, it's not a Pikachu, which Ethan had in the first promissory note. It's the phone itself. So the collateral is the phone. All that means is if Ethan does not do his responsibilities and execute those accordingly as far as paying for the phone and some other policies that we threw in place, that he loses the phone. And there's also a penalty clause we put in there as well. And so I drew up all the paperwork, put the promissory note in there, had the official receipts for the phone, also have a payment schedule. In addition to the payment schedule, there's also an acceptable use policy and a penalty clause. And I'll explain a little bit about that because I believe that's important. The acceptable use policy is essentially all the jargon you usually see when you go to websites and if you're using mobile apps of what defines acceptable use for those particular services. And for Ethan's phone, it's no different. Those same rules apply. He has to make sure he adheres to everything that would be considered our household rules, but I wanted to make sure that that was defined the same way it is on a website or a mobile app, so he actually understands what that means and that he's responsible for it. So he's going to have to initial and review all that documentation. And then in addition to that, we have a penalty clause. So again, just like the interest I did when Ethan was a younger lad looking for the Pikachu, had to put something in there that a parent would put their stamp of approval on. And what it essentially means is, in addition to the acceptable use, Ethan has to use his phone in a way that enhances and improves his ability to take care of his responsibilities. And the way that we're actually doing that is we're using the app called Todoist for productivity. If you haven't seen the productivity app or the productivity video, take a look at that. That has all of my information as far as why I use Todoist. I'm in the top 1% for using Todoist. So I decided I'm going to use that as a platform to assign Ethan tasks. So my wife and I, we're going to assign him tasks such as chores around the house, things he has to take care of, and that's all going to go through Todoist. Now, the beautiful thing is Todoist has an iPhone app, and through that app, which he'll have his phone, it'll be much easier for him to get updated and see in real time, oh, I have a new task that's been assigned. What's the due date for that? So if he does not execute against the tasks that he's been given, and again, these include the daily tasks that he's going to be responsible for, such as taking care of his braces, brushing his teeth, water flossing, which are all already in there, but a few additional things such as taking out the trash, the recycling, and then anything that my wife and I actually assign him, that will be on his task list. If he misses one task within a given deadline, he loses the phone for 1 day. So at most, he can lose the phone for 1 day within a given week period. So if he messes up that first time, again, it's a ding for a day. But if he messes up a few times after that, he's got to get to the next threshold. So that next threshold is 4 times. If he messes up 4 times or misses tasks 4 times within a 1 week time period, he will lose the phone for a week. And then last but not least, in a 30-day time period, which is 1 month, we'll just consider the calendar month, so roughly 30 days. If Ethan messes up, I believe, or misses a total of, it might be either 7 or 10, I have to double check the paperwork. But if he misses those number of tasks or the deadlines for those tasks, then he loses the phone for 2 weeks. So we believe this is super important and a way to create incentive around the phone. Ethan won't have a data plan, or not a data plan. He won't have a cell phone plan as of yet because he still has to purchase the phone, and the cell phone plan will be more. But the process of actually having the phone will teach him to be resourceful in using Wi-Fi. He'll mostly be at home, and anywhere he actually goes out, he'll actually be able to search and use Wi-Fi responsibly. But that is essentially his way to access information. When he's responsible enough and makes it through this first trial time period over the next 18 months, then we can talk about, all right, you actually want a cell phone plan. Do you know how much that will cost and what additional things you'll have to do to supplement and pay for it? So I've been waiting to give Ethan the paperwork. It took me a while to put together, but I believe in being thorough, so I only had to do it one time. And if I ever use it for his sister in the future, I already have it. But he's asleep right now, so I don't want to wake him up, because last thing you want to do is be woken up by not something that's going to excite you, such as the phone, but having to review the paperwork for the phone, and you're not fully alert. So I'm going to wait for him to be fully alert. I'm going to give him the paperwork to review, and then I'll let you know how that goes. I believe he'll be super excited once he's finished, probably not reading it, but once he's finished. And once he actually signs it, the phone will be his, and we'll get to see how he actually progresses. So I look forward to giving you updates of how this whole process goes. Again, I haven't done something on this level as far as giving my son a promissory note since 2017. So hopefully he's gotten a little bit more responsible since that point in time. And again, he knows anytime he's got to pay interest, it's not going to be something that is going to be easy, but it's something that's going to essentially build up his confidence and create some struggles for him to overcome. So more to come. Stay in tune. Catch you on the next episode. Bye.